Imagine a place so vast, so remote that it feels like the edge of the world. In the far north of Greenland, a small, rocky island called Kaffeklubben, or Coffee Club Island, holds the title of the northernmost point of land on Earth. For centuries, it was a desolate speck on the map, a testament to the brutal, unforgiving nature of the Arctic. Explorers who reached it found little more than ice wind, a profound sense of isolation. But today, this lonely outpost and the massive island it belongs to has become something else entirely. It's no longer just a geographical curiosity. It is the tip of a geopolitical spear, a focal point in a new global contest for power. To understand Greenland's importance, you first have to grasp its sheer scale. It is the world's largest island, more than 3 times the size of Texas. Yet, it is home to a population smaller than that of a small American city. Over 80% of its surface is covered by a massive ice sheet, in some places nearly 2 miles thick. If that ice melted completely, global sea levels would rise by 24 feet. For decades, this made Greenland feel remote, a fortress of ice, studied more by scientists than by economists or generals. Greenland occupies a critical position on the world map. It sits between North America and Europe, a natural sentinel over the North Atlantic. It is the cornerstone of the GIUK Gap, the strategic maritime corridor formed by Greenland, Iceland, the United Kingdom. During the Cold War, the gap was a vital choke point for tracking Soviet naval movements. Any fleet from the Russian Arctic heading to the Atlantic had to pass through it. For the United States, the focus on Greenland is sharp, clear, and rooted in a long history of national security. The American perspective is less about partnership and more about strategic necessity. From Washington's point of view, Greenland is not a distant European territory. It is America's northern flank. It's the front line of homeland defense, a critical listening post, a staging ground for projecting power into the Arctic. The primary concern is security. Economics, resources, even climate change is viewed through that lens. The U.S. recognized this, establishing Thule Air Base on Greenland's northwest coast in the 1950s. The European Union's approach to Greenland is a world away from America's security-first doctrine. While Europe is concerned about security in the high north, partnership, diplomacy, shared values, Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark. Denmark is an EU member state, part of the broader European family. Brussels doesn't see Greenland as a military outpost. EU's primary interests are multifaceted, securing critical raw materials, promoting green technologies, understanding climate change, keeping the region a low-tension zone under international law. Cooperation, scientific research, sustainable development. The EU established a formal partnership with Greenland and opened an office in Nuuk. It's not about military bases, it's about building trust. The differing approaches of the United States and Europe, both aimed at keeping Greenland in the Western camp, create a subtle but significant friction. It's, a classic contrast between hard power and soft power, between a security-driven agenda and a values-driven one. The United States acts with a sense of urgency, viewing every development through the prism of great power competition. It sees the melting ice and thinks of Russian submarines and Chinese spy stations. Europe, on the other hand, tends to act with more deliberation, seeing the melting ice and thinking of climate data, sustainable mining practices, and the rights of indigenous populations. This divergence was on full display in the wake of President Trump's offer to buy Greenland. When a Chinese state-owned company emerged as a lead bidder to finance and build new airports in Greenland, alarm bells went off in the Pentagon. The United States exerted pressure and eventually stepped in with its own financial aid package, effectively pushing China out. Narrator. In August of 2019, something happened. Narrator. It really catapulted Greenland from a remote curiosity narrator right into the global spotlight. Narrator. News broke that the President of the United States, Donald Trump, had seriously and repeatedly discussed with his advisors. Narrator, the idea of actually purchasing Greenland from the Kingdom of Denmark. Narrator, at first, this story was met with disbelief and honestly even a bit of ridicule. Narrator, but when the President himself confirmed his interest, calling it essentially a large real estate deal, narrator, the Danish Prime Minister, Mette Frederiksen, called the suggestion absurd, stating clearly, narrator, Greenland is not for sale. Narrator, Greenland is not Danish. Narrator: Greenland belongs to Greenland. Narrator: her firm dismissal led to a diplomatic spat, with President Trump abruptly canceling a planned state visit to Copenhagen. Narrator: for many in Europe, this incident was a shocking reminder of a transactional American foreign policy. Narrator: for Greenlanders, the offer was deeply offensive. Narrator: the Premier of Greenland, Kim Kielsen, responded directly, saying, Narrator: we are not for sale, but we are open for business. Narrator: the offer, however clumsy, actually ended up strengthening Greenland TM's hand. Far from the strategic war rooms of Washington and the bureaucratic halls of Brussels, the 56,000 people of Greenland have their own vision for the future. Their voice, once kind of muted on the world stage, is really growing louder and more assertive. This is the story of a nation in the making, a people navigating the complex transition from a Danish colony to a self-governing society with real aspirations of full independence. The Greenlandic perspective isn't monolithic, but it's broadly defined by a deep desire for self-determination, economic prosperity, and the preservation of their unique Inuit culture and environment. They absolutely do not want to be a pawn in a great power game. The political landscape in Greenland is dominated by this quest for autonomy. Back in 2009, Greenland passed a Self-Rule Act, which transferred control over most domestic affairs, policing, the judicial system, and natural resources, while Copenhagen retained foreign policy, defense, and the currency. The future of Greenland and its impact on the world is really tied to the profound physical transformation of the Arctic itself. The science is undeniable. The Arctic is warming at least 3 to 4 times faster than the global average. Greenland's massive ice sheet is melting at an astonishing rate, losing hundreds of billions of tons of ice each year. This great melt isn't some distant, abstract concept. It's a tangible reality that's creating both immense peril and, honestly, unprecedented opportunity. It's redrawing maps, not just figuratively but literally. Coastlines are changing. The most immediate global consequence is sea level rise. Miami, Mumbai, Shanghai. Greenland is a critical laboratory for climate scientists. Researchers are racing to understand complex ice sheet dynamics. Melting ice is also opening new maritime routes, like the Trans-Polar Sea Route, which could cut Asia-Europe shipping by weeks and bypass choke points like the Suez Canal. But obstacles remain. Unpredictable ice flows, sparse search and rescue infrastructure, and serious environmental risks. The long-term economic implications are staggering. A country with strategic ports along these routes would gain huge power. We stand at a pivotal moment in the history of Greenland, and really, the world. An island that for so long was a symbol of icy isolation is now a nexus of global forces. Climate change, the race for resources, the shifting plates of geopolitical power. The story that began with a lonely island at the top of the world has become a complex drama with a truly global cast. The interests are clear. America wants security. Europe wants a stable partner. Europe wants sustainable resources. China wants a foothold. Russia wants to reassert its dominance in its own backyard. The choices made in the coming years will have consequences that ripple far beyond the Arctic Circle. If Greenland moves toward large-scale resource extraction, it could achieve economic independence.